I am 20 years old and I have an older brother, Jack, who is 29. He is married to Amy, who is 26. About 2 years ago, they had their firstborn, a daughter named Lisa. Our family is incredibly similar, with my parents and Jack possessing brown hair and brown eyes. In contrast, Amy is from Norway and has Scandinavian features, blonde hair and blue eyes, which contrast with our typically American appearance. It's no surprise that Lisa has inherited her mother's looks. They look like two peas in a pod, and the resemblance becomes more and more obvious every day. At first glance, everything seems fine, and it's unclear why this would be a problem. About a year ago, however, Jack began to express doubts. He told me about a coworker whose daughter looked like a female version of himself, claiming that firstborn children, especially daughters, often resemble their fathers. This opinion didn't strike me as odd, since I'd heard similar things before. But Jack increasingly began to ask questions about the origin of Lisa's traits, such as how she got her blonde hair and blue eyes. I kept reminding him that those were Amy's traits. The situation escalated when Jack insisted on a paternity test, claiming that he was certain Lisa was not his child. Amy was deeply upset by such accusations and tried to convince him otherwise, emphasizing that Lisa had simply inherited her looks. Tensions came to a head when he threatened divorce if she refused the test, seeing it as proof of her infidelity. Amy turned to our parents for support, pouring out her pain to them. They, in turn, tried to contact Jack, as did I. However, his response was hostile. He accused us of supporting traitors. Now Amy and Lisa are with us, puzzled as to how such a situation could have arisen. Yesterday, I was finally able to reach my brother. He answered the phone and I was able to talk to him. I asked him if he had any evidence of Amy cheating or why he had even come up with the idea in the first place. He admitted that he didn't have any proof, but was 100% sure of it. I asked him the reasons for this certainty. He explained to me that usually firstborn daughters resemble their fathers, but Lisa did not resemble him at all and had no traits from him. This explanation made me angry. It seemed strange to draw such conclusions without a basis. I angrily called him an idiot for the whole situation and assumed he would regret it later. He cut the conversation short by getting even more angry, claiming that Amy was manipulating us all and that we would regret it when we found out the truth. I didn't tell Amy the content of the conversation with my brother, suspecting it would only make her feel worse. While my parents argued that my reaction in the conversation with my brother was inappropriate and that it could have been a chance for a mature and serious dialogue, Amy herself told me that her brother questioned her by expressing doubts about Lisa's paternity and stating his intention to conduct a paternity test. This caused an argument between them, and now he is staying at a friend's house and Amy has come to see our parents. Amy didn't mind the test, but the accusations and hints of infidelity hurt her deeply. They were together for 7 years, and their relationship seemed strong before the accusations started to destroy their bond. Now she feels that the last few years have been a sham, and even if the test confirms paternity, their relationship will probably never go back to the way it was. Amy says these accusations make her think as if he always suspected her of infidelity. I promise to keep you informed and let you know the results of the paternity test as soon as they are available. You are absolutely not wrong. He began his remarks by addressing you with the certainty that firstborn daughters often exhibit behavior that mirrors the characteristics of their fathers. This phenomenon, by the way, becomes the subject of countless debates based on non-scientific claims and popularized thanks to attractive but poorly substantiated articles on the internet. Instead of engaging in pointless arguments with him about his misconceptions, Amy would prefer to refute his arguments from a position of real science. She would suggest that her future daughter-in-law send him a message. "I'll agree to a paternity test after you file the divorce papers." This decision underscores how mistaken the belief that a child may not be one's own can be, especially when there is no reason to doubt it. If I had suspicions, I would prefer to do the DNA test in secret, not risk ruining the marriage because of uncertainty. However, he seems so unconcerned with the basics of genetics that he is not even capable of realizing how to do a paternity test on his own. I think this may be due to guilt, perhaps due to his infidelity in the past, and now his tension has reached a point where he is at risk of dislocating his shoulder. Frankly, your brother seems like a man who is overly fond of misinformation, especially that which is spread via TikTok. I sincerely hope he is ready to face the consequences of divorce and child support obligations. Perhaps his behavior is the result of a psychological crisis caused by unconscious insecurity. In any case, your reaction to this situation is well warranted. Please keep us posted on the situation. Update: in light of recent events, I recognize that my reaction to my brother's request for a paternity test was inappropriate. The test was conducted, and the results brought the expected news. Lisa is undoubtedly my brother's daughter. Many of you have speculated that my brother may have been cheating on Amy, but we now realize that was not the case. The situation that led him to this decision became clearer after receiving the test results. My brother had a difficult time when he was younger, and his anxiety was more serious than I had realized. His main problem was a distrust of those around him, a belief that they did not wish him well. An example of this anxiety is a story from his school years, when he refused to sit next to his classmates for fear that they would steal his pens or hurt him. He also believed that friends and acquaintances might be against him. The situation escalated when a coworker took his daughter to the office and everyone started discussing the children's resemblance to their parents. This provoked my brother to start studying genetics and solidified his belief that dark hair and eyes should dominate over light hair and eyes. He became obsessed with this idea over the course of a year. The reason for wanting a paternity test was not only to prove Amy's infidelity, but also to show her how important it was to be open and honest. He believed that his honesty would help Amy admit her mistakes. In this way, he wanted to make sure he acted correctly, unlike her. Amy, while not wanting a divorce now, shows tremendous patience and willingness to work on the relationship. My brother should appreciate this chance, as they have both made the decision to seek professional help. They plan to attend both joint and individual therapy sessions. Amy is dealing with personal issues and Jack is dealing with overcoming his anxiety. They have decided to live apart for a while to give themselves room for personal growth, but they have a strong commitment to do whatever it takes to save the marriage. We tried to find a therapist for Jack as soon as possible. Fortunately, we were able to arrange an appointment for the following week, which was quicker than we had anticipated. Jack has deep regrets about what happened and has reacted emotionally to the results of the paternity test, emphasizing his love for Lisa. He repeatedly tells her, "No, honey, Daddy loves his little girl very much." This situation prompted a conversation with our parents. They assure us that anxiety manifests itself differently in different people and that Jack seems to have been particularly vulnerable to the condition. Not having dealt with anxiety personally, I decided to trust their judgment. If Jack's problems are more serious, however, I insist that he get all the support he needs. Going to discuss this with Amy, given her questions and concerns about whether this is really just about anxiety. Sorry, but he apparently avoided sitting next to anyone in class. His motivation seemed odd. He was suggesting that someone might attack him using pens as weapons. This level of anxiety far exceeds normal caution. Such actions may indicate deep-seated fears beyond ordinary experiences. The impact of his condition was not only felt in the classroom. His marriage seemed to be crumbling under the weight of his unfounded suspicions. This speaks to the seriousness of his mental disorder. My observations confirm that his experiences are of a pronounced paranoid nature. It is suggested that this behavior may have been triggered by his parents' denial of the problem in the past. They may have overlooked his condition, avoiding confronting the potential stigma of mental illness in the family. This may have contributed to the exacerbation of his problems as important support and treatment were not available. It must be emphasized that the stigma of mental disorders is a barrier to getting the help you need. Just like any other medical problem, mental health requires attention and professional intervention. Lack of support from parents in these situations can play a negative role, leaving the person alone with his or her problems. It is important to pay attention to his needs and urge him to seek specialized help. Next story. In the past, my mother exhibited traits that were not always exemplary. Sometimes, she would make statements that were offensive to others, and her behavior could seem overly abrasive. This put some strain on my relationship with my wife, especially in the early stages of our acquaintance, when my mother was self-centered and lacked tact. To protect our family unit, I had to impose clear boundaries, which Mom learned to respect over time, realizing that some forms of communication were unacceptable. I am fully aware that the relationship between my wife and Mom is not an easy one, and the likelihood of them getting closer seems slim to me. We tried to avoid tension by keeping our distance to minimize potential conflict. This makes me sad because my family used to be a fortress of closeness and support for me. However, having put my wife's interests first, I have accepted this arrangement as a given, especially after our recent wedding, which was a near-perfect event in our lives, despite some minor misunderstandings. For example, on the day of the celebration, my mom ended up with a noticeable food coloring stain on her cheek, about the size of a lighter. Her displeasure was obvious, as she rarely wears makeup and knows little about the nuances of makeup. The makeup artist, a friend of my wife's and familiar with the backstory of Mom's relationship with us, offered to help, warning that dark makeup would be required to hide the stain. Mom ended up with an unnaturally dark complexion that looked somewhat comical against her fair skin. Upon realizing this, she opted to remove the makeup, leaving the stain visible. I learned of this incident after I returned from my honeymoon, when my wife hosted a dinner party to go through the wedding photos together. The makeup episode elicited laughter among her friends, which was the first time I had heard of it, and I couldn't help but note that such jokes seemed inappropriate to me. My reaction to a situation in which my mom was called dumb and told she got what she deserved was harsh. I expressed my displeasure that this behavior was reminiscent of childish bickering and that one should not be proud of such actions regardless of past grievances. Blaming my mom for her past actions and my assertion that she was not the problem on the wedding day caused tension between my wife and me. She felt that I had to support her side unconditionally, and she took my words to her friends as humiliation. This argument highlighted the differences in our views on family values and loyalty. You were not wrong in your judgment. When your wife exhibited behavior that resembled that of an unrestrained teenager rather than an adult, it didn't mean you had to unconditionally support her in everything. Being her spouse means being able to speak openly about shortcomings and mistakes, pointing the way to a better way. This doesn't make you dependent on your mother's opinion. It speaks to your ability to exercise moral strength and integrity. She must demonstrate maturity and responsibility in order to earn her support 100%. This situation has highlighted potential difficulties you may face in the future. You may have to see other examples of inappropriate behavior toward your mom or someone else, supported by others solely because of family ties. It's been an excruciating ordeal, and it's a wonder you haven't noticed this kind of behavior before. But don't assume that the time to make decisions is past. Comparing your date to your mom seems exaggerated, but moments like making a revenge scene out of your wedding day allow you to reflect on what memories will dominate your shared future. It's sad and thought-provoking about maturity and the importance of shared moments. Your choices in a partner and the decisions you make in marriage will definitely have a significant impact on your life together. It is important to remember the need for mutual respect and support, which is the foundation of any relationship. Good luck to you in building a relationship where both partners can grow and develop together while remaining honest and open with each other. Now I want to tell a different story. 5 years ago, I made the decision to adopt my teenage niece. Her parents, unfortunately, were unable to provide her with proper care and nurturing. However, they continue to play a role in her life as an aunt and uncle. My niece is homeschooled but also attends an educational cooperative where she spends 4.5 hours 4 times a week. Due to my employment for 3 12-hour shifts per week, I often need help with her travel to and from the co-op. My sister, working nights, can pick her up, conveniently combining that with getting home. She usually stays at the co-op, helping out as much as she can. One of my sister's tasks at the co-op is to make lunches for the kids. She carefully monitors the children's allergens and preferences, which has ensured that there have been no complaints. The menu usually includes turkey or ham sandwiches, macaroni and cheese, chicken nuggets, grilled cheese, hot dogs, and sometimes pizza. A variety of side dishes are served for lunch: crackers, goldfish, chips, vegetable straws, etc., as well as fruit or fruit snacks, applesauce, and sweets and beverages, including milk or juice. However, my sister recently raised concerns about my niece's diet, telling her that this diet was unhealthy and could lead to excess weight gain. This caused my niece concern, as she enjoys such meals and did not want to be different from other children. I was quick to reassure her by telling her that my sister's opinion was wrong and then discussed the matter with my sister directly. I emphasized that any issues regarding my niece's diet should be discussed with me personally and not with the child. I emphasized to my sister that in my role as my niece's parent, I have a responsibility to make decisions regarding her well-being, including her health. I expressed concern that important decisions could not continue to be made without first discussing them with me. I suggested that if this approach continued, I might consider finding a babysitter who could take over the responsibilities of bringing my niece to the co-op. This stance of mine was met with resistance from other family members. They expressed the opinion that since my niece is my sister's child, she should have the right to be involved in decision-making. In addition, they felt that seeking a babysitter instead of help from my sister would be wrong for both my niece and my sister. It was clear to me that my statement about not allowing unilateral decisions on my sister's part had caused resentment and questions within the family. There can be no accusations that you did anything wrong. Your comment that carbohydrates can actually be beneficial reflects the importance of a balanced diet. It seems that the co-op's approach to child nutrition is really effective. Your choice to call your niece your daughter emphasizes the depth of your relationship and affection for her. It is an important aspect of her identity and your family life. Defining family roles can be complicated, but it is important to remember that you are your daughter's legal guardian after adoption. This makes you the primary person responsible for her upbringing and well-being. Understanding and recognizing this fact is critical for everyone in your family. By expressing reservations about your sister making decisions for your daughter, you have emphasized the importance of direct communication and mutual understanding in dealing with parenting issues. It is important to consider the opinions and feelings of all family members, but you also need to be clear about the boundaries of responsibility and authority. Considering hiring a nanny indicates your willingness to seek practical solutions to ensure your daughter's well-being and safety. It also reflects your interest in creating a stable and supportive environment for her. It is important to maintain a positive and healthy attitude toward nutrition and lifestyle in general. Projecting your own problems onto your child can have long-term consequences on her self-esteem and attitude towards her own body. Recognizing this and striving to prevent such situations are key aspects of responsible parenting. My next story. When I was 39 years old, I married a man who was 15 years older than me at the time. Our life together began 6 years ago, although we had known each other for 8 years. From a previous relationship, my spouse had 2 children, a 20-year-old son and a 19-year-old daughter named Emma. I myself brought my teenage daughter into this union as a widow. When my husband and I first began our journey through life together, Emma had difficulty accepting the fact that her father had regained marital bliss. Her brother, on the other hand, happily accepted me and my daughter, becoming a caring and attentive older brother to her. However, Emma did not have warm feelings for me and even allowed unkind acts towards my daughter. This made my daughter constantly seek protection and support from me, especially when Emma was around. When the girl turned 15, she made the decision to move in with her mother, leaving our home for good. After my first husband passed away, I was left with a small inheritance, which I did not tap into, thanks to a stable financial situation due to my job. This allowed me to take on the cost of my stepson's education last year. With a similar intention, I looked to the future for my daughter, planning to add a significant amount to her education. However, my stepdaughter, Emma, reacts to my actions with outright hostility, accusing me of being unreasonable. We have never developed a warm relationship. She has disliked me from the beginning, and I don't see her attitude toward me getting better over time. Frankly, I would rather put more of my resources toward my daughter's future than spend them on someone who doesn't appreciate my efforts. This causes sadness for my spouse, who sees my actions as unfair. This situation saddens me because I strive for fairness in my decisions and do not feel guilty for the choices I have made. In this context, you absolutely do not deserve to be called an idiot. Emma has no basis to claim your inheritance, as she has not shown you any respect or considered you as part of the family. Thus, there is no need for you to treat her differently than she treated you. Your spouse should appreciate your decision to financially support his son using the funds left by your late husband. Indeed, this is a decision not everyone would be able to make. Your desire not to include Emma in the financial support, given her relationship to you and your daughter, is well-founded. However, this decision has put your husband in a difficult position, creating a dilemma in the fairness of funding his children's education. It seems to have been forgotten that the father himself is able to take care of Emma's financial needs, and not necessarily the entire burden should fall on you. Emma is upset, probably because she is aware of the consequences of her behavior. Her anger may be a reaction to the realization that respect and trust are earned, not given unconditionally. She has two parents capable of supporting her financially, and therefore your responsibility for her education is not mandatory. When addressing your husband, you can raise the issue of equality in funding the children's education, offering to withdraw support for his son as well, if necessary, in order to maintain fairness. In light of the situation, offering to help Emma find a student job is a reasonable compromise, showing your willingness to support her but also reminding her of the value of independence and perseverance that you value. This approach demonstrates your willingness to be supportive despite the difficulties in the relationship and offers a path to self-sufficiency for Emma, given her own efforts and aspirations.